Hey guys, tonight we begin in the kind of cold that doesn't forgive. Not the kind that bites, the kind that settles, the kind that forgets your name before you finish falling. You're in labor, alone, and the snow is coming down sideways. You're not supposed to be here. You were promised a ride, a place, a bed, but the man you trusted turned his back when the road narrowed. Now your boots are gone, your contractions are minutes apart, and your coat's not thick enough to bury a secret, let alone keep two hearts beating. But your daughter hasn't stopped kicking, and that means one of you still believes. Like and subscribe, but only if you truly enjoy what I do here. Tell me where you're listening from and your local time. Now dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. The first contraction brings you to your knees. You taste blood in your mouth before you feel it. Your fingers dig into wet bark. Your dress is already soaked. Your breath is too loud for the forest. No one answers. You try to scream his name, but the snow swallows it before it escapes your throat. He's gone. He left you. Like he said he would if you got in the way. The pain is sharp, deep, wrong. Too early. You reach between your legs, your hand comes back red. You whisper, "Not now, not like this." The trees don't care. The wind has no mercy, and the trail behind you is already gone. You crawl under a fallen pine. It's not shelter, it's shadow, but it's all you have. You press your back against frozen earth. Wrap your arms around your belly. Pray to anything that might still be watching. The second contraction tears through you like memory. You bite your lip, taste iron, see stars behind your eyelids. You won't make it, you know that, but maybe she will, if she comes fast enough, if your body doesn't give up before hers begins. Then, boots, crunching through snow, one set, deliberate, no voice, just the sound of someone who already knows where you are. You try to lift your head, your eyes blur. A shadow leans over you, tall, wrapped in leather and fur, not white, not armed. A man with braids over his shoulders and silence around his breath. He doesn't speak. He kneels, places one hand on your belly, feels the tremor, then lifts you like you weigh nothing. You black out before the wind changes. When you wake, it's firelight that greets you, and the sound of water boiling nearby. You're inside a small lodge, round, breath warm. Your daughter is in your arms, crying, alive. You press your lips to her temple and sob, not because you're afraid, because you're still here. And because someone decided not to walk past you in the dark, you turn your head and see him sitting by the fire, carving something, slow, steady, not looking at you, not asking questions, just staying. You want to speak, but you don't. You hold your child, close your eyes, and feel the earth beneath you for the first time in days. It doesn't rise, doesn't shake. It holds. And for now, that's enough. The fire's still burning when you wake again, lower now, steady, like someone fed it just enough to wait for you. Your daughter stirs beside you. She doesn't cry, she breathes, tiny ribs rising, falling, fingers curled in the edge of your sleeve. The weight of her is unfamiliar, but so is the absence of pain. You sit up slow, test your limbs, your back protests, your wrists throb, but you're whole. You made it, she made it, and someone made that possible. The man is still there, not by the fire now, by the wall, working leather between calloused hands. He doesn't look up, doesn't speak, but you feel no fear, only distance, the respectful kind, the kind you didn't expect from a stranger, especially not out here, especially not after what was done to you. You study the lodge, smoke hole above, woven pine walls, no windows, but light finds its way in. A bundle of herbs hangs near the entrance. You don't recognize the blend, but it smells like something meant to heal. You shift your daughter in your arms. She nuzzles in. You whisper, "You're safe. We're safe." And for once, you believe yourself. The man rises, crosses the lodge, places a small bowl of broth near your side. Steam rises. Not much, just a handful. You look up. He meets your eyes, then points to it. You nod. Whisper, "Thank you." He nods back. One short motion. Then he sits again. By the fire, close enough to see, far enough not to threaten. You sip. It tastes like bark, salt, and something warm beneath the bitterness. You drink every drop. Your daughter sleeps through the slurping. You wipe your mouth. Say, "My name is Abigail." He doesn't respond, just keeps working. But his hands pause, just once. A single breath's worth of stillness. You don't push. You just say, "You don't have to tell me yours." And you mean it because this is a different kind of silence. Not ignorance, not arrogance, grief maybe. You recognize it. You carry your own. You wrap your daughter tighter. Place your palm to her chest. Feel the rhythm, steady, certain. The man sets down the leather, reaches into a bundle near the fire, pulls something small, wooden, carved. He lays it by your side, then returns to a spot. You lift it. A whistle, bone or antler, feathers tied with sinew, a cradle whistle. You bring it to your lips, blow gently. The sound is soft, low, like a breath made music. Your daughter stirs, smiles. You don't cry, but your throat aches. You say, "She likes it." Still no reply, but you see it. The corner of his mouth, almost a smile. Then gone. You lean back, rest your head against the lodge wall, exhale. You made it through the storm. And someone was there when no one else would be. You whisper one more time, to her, to him, to whatever spirit didn't let you die under that tree. Thank you. The fire pops once. The herbs sway gently above. And the wind outside forgets your name. Just long enough for you to start remembering it again. The snow hasn't stopped, but the storm has lost its hunger. Outside the lodge, wind brushes the pines like fingers across an old drum. Inside, your world is smaller, warmer. The man tends the fire without looking at you. You feed your daughter every few hours. She roots now with confidence. She trusts the world, even if you don't yet. You've given her a name in your head. You haven't spoken it aloud, not yet, not until someone says yours back. That morning, the man places something new near the fire, a hide, fresh, pale, laid flat across a smoothed plank of bark. He runs a bone all through it, slow, sure, patterned. You watch his hands, the way they pause to measure, adjust, press. He's making something meant to hold. You recognize the shape as it forms, a cradle board, tapered at the top, rounded at the bottom, wide enough for a newborn, but just slightly longer for a growing child. You don't interrupt. You just sit near the fire, close enough to feel its truth. Your daughter sleeps beside you. She breathes in time with the crackle. You think, this is how a name earns itself. Later, he offers you roots, boiled, mashed. He makes a motion with his hand, a gesture like holding something small to the lips. You feed the baby a smear on your finger. She smacks her lips, swallows, smiles. You smile too. Not because of the food, because of the moment, because someone shared care without asking if you deserved it. You say again, "My name is Abigail." This time he looks at you longer, then nods, points to himself, touches his chest, says one word, "Tall elk." You repeat it softly. It feels stable in your mouth, earthbound, unshakable, like the name of someone who wouldn't walk past a woman in the snow. You nod once. Say, "Thank you, tall elk." He doesn't nod back. He just returns to the cradle board but slower now, more deliberate, like the story's been given its first word. That night your daughter fusses, the wind rises, the lodge creaks. You rock her against your chest, whispering the name you've kept to yourself, Hope. The first time you say it aloud, your breath catches. The fire seems to lean toward you. Tall Elk glances up once, then returns to his work. But the corner of the cradle board now bears a new mark. A symbol carved quickly, lightly. A spiral inside two branches. You don't know what it means. But it wasn't there before you spoke her name. The wind changes the next morning, not stronger, clearer, like it finally has direction again. You step outside the lodge, not far, just to feel the cold on your cheeks and remind your body you're still on Earth. The snow's crusted over, hard, reflective, like glass made of silence. Behind you, hope fusses. Inside, the fire pops. Tall Elk's footsteps press steady patterns in the white. He walks the perimeter of the camp each morning, never armed, never hurried, but always looking, listening. You wonder if he's protecting you, or just watching for the parts of winter that don't knock. By midday, another figure appears, not a settler, not tribal. A woman wrapped in woven furs, her face painted in ash lines, long hair streaked with snow. She carries a basket, walks straight towards your lodge. You tense. But no one draws breath like alarm. Tall Elk steps beside her. They speak in low tones. You don't understand the words, but you understand the weight. This isn't her first time here, and not her first time helping someone like you. She enters. You rise. She doesn't greet you, doesn't smile, just sets the basket down, removes 2 folded blankets, 3 roots, and a stone bowl filled with crushed herbs. Then she finally looks at you and sees hope. Her face softens. She kneels, touches the baby's feet, says one word you don't know, but it feels like blessing. She sets to work quickly, heats the herbs in water, murmurs while the steam rises, spreads the mixture across your hands, your neck, your belly. You flinch, not because it hurts, because no one's touched you this gently since before the storm. She places your hands over Hope's chest, pushes lightly, then whispers again. You feel heat pass between you, not fire, memory. Then she leaves. No goodbye, just purpose. Tall Elk doesn't explain, you don't ask. Some healing doesn't translate, it just happens. That night you dream of feathers falling in a circle, each one different, but none touching the ground. You wake to Hope smiling in her sleep and realize she's never known a world where you weren't trying. That's a kind of hope you weren't ready for, but you hold it anyway. The next morning, the cradle board is finished. You find it resting by the hearth when you wake, propped upright, angled toward the fire like a guest in quiet conversation. It's made of pine and hide, lashed with sinew, decorated with faint carvings you don't recognize. But at the top, where a name might go, there's only a symbol, a circle inside 2 lines, like the one Tall Elk carved the night you spoke her name aloud. Hope stirs in your arms. You say, "It's yours." And she sighs like she already knew. You spend the day outside for the first time. Snow still clings to the trees, but the air has softened. Your boots are stuffed with rabbit fur. Your dress is layered under a woven wrap the healer left behind. Tall Elk watches as you walk the edge of the clearing. He doesn't follow, but he doesn't look away either. You carry Hope close to your chest. Her eyes dart from tree to sky to shadow. You say, "This place isn't mine." Then whisper, "But maybe it could be." You hear a voice, not his, not hers. Your own, stronger than yesterday, still raspy, but sure. You test the sound of it in the air, like stretching a limb after weeks of stillness. You speak to Hope, to the trees, to no one at all, just to remind yourself that you're allowed, that you didn't lose your voice with a man who left you in the snow. You didn't lose it when your child crowned between trees, you only buried it. And now the thaw is digging it back up. When you return, Tall Elk is carving again, this time something smaller, thinner, a stick, a needle. You're not sure. You ask, Will you teach me? He stops, looks at you, then at Hope, then back at the fire, says, "If you stay." You nod. Don't answer, not yet. Because staying isn't just about shelter, it's about being seen. You sit beside him, wrap Hope in the new cradleboard. Watch her settle in, like she's been waiting her whole short life for that shape. You whisper, "I'm learning." He doesn't smile, but he hands you the blade. Your first lesson is quiet, but it cuts deep. You learn the rhythm of carving before you learn the words for the tools. Tall Elk shows you by doing. He doesn't correct, doesn't hover. He lets your hands tremble. Lets the blade slip once, just enough for you to learn your skin is worth more than speed. Hope sleeps nearby, wrapped snug in the cradleboard. You glance at her every few minutes, not because you're afraid, because you still can't believe she's real. At midday, the healer returns. She doesn't knock, doesn't announce herself. She moves through the doorway like smoke. She brings no basket this time, only a wooden bowl and a cloth bundle. She sits by the fire, unwraps dried roots, and begins grinding them without looking up. You watch, then step closer. You kneel beside her, not out of submission, out of gratitude. She holds the bowl between you both, pushes it toward you. You take a pinch between your fingers. It smells like memory, sharp, earthy, something from deep below snow lines. You ask, "What is it?" She says, for her voice. You blink, look at Hope, still sleeping, still whole, still quiet. You ask, "Will she speak?" The healer shrugs. "She will be heard." It's not an answer, but it's not a no. Later, Tall Elk speaks. Not much, but enough. He tells you the healer's name, Song Before Rain. You try to repeat it. He corrects you once, then nods. Close enough. You say, "She doesn't talk much," he says. "She sings when no one's listening." You like that. You think maybe you've done the same. That night you write her name on a piece of cloth, tuck it into the fold of the cradleboard, not for ceremony, for memory. You've lost enough names. You won't lose hers. Hope stirs in her sleep. You kiss her brow and whisper, "You're building something just by breathing." Outside the snow falls again, but it no longer feels like threat, only rhythm. You begin waking before the fire, before Hope. Before Tall Elk's first footsteps crunch through frost. The air inside the lodge holds a hush you've come to respect. It isn't silence, it's waiting. You sit at the entrance each morning now, watching the light creep through the trees, not looking for anyone, not fleeing anyone, just being. And that feels new. Hope's eyes track more each day. She reaches for things, your finger, Tall Elk's braids, the firelight on the ceiling. You narrate her world. "This is pine. This is smoke. This is safe." She gurgles in response, not words, but something close. You carve now, too, small things, a rattle handle, a hair comb, a spoon with one uneven edge. Song Before Rain watches your progress without judgment. She places your finished spoon on the edge of the hearth, not with pride, with permanence, as if saying, "This happened. This mattered. Let it stay." Midweek, another man arrives. He doesn't enter the lodge. He stands at the edge of the clearing, arms crossed, mouth tight. You see Tall Elk stiffen. No greeting passes between them, only a glance. Sharp, brief. Then the man leaves something at the base of a tree, a bundle wrapped in red cloth, then turns and disappears. Tall Elk waits 5 minutes before moving. You watch him retrieve it. He carries it into the lodge and sets it by the fire. You wait. He unties the cloth. Inside, dried meat, a small folded map, and a letter written in English. You reach for it. He stops you, shakes his head, tucks the letter into the fire. No words. But you understand. Some stories don't need retelling. They need refusing. Later you find the red cloth folded neatly beside the cradle board. A piece of it has been torn away. You recognize the strip tied now around Hope's tiny wrist. A silent talisman, not for luck, for lineage. You whisper, "You're more than one thing," and Hope smiles like she already knew. The snow begins to melt in patches, not evenly, just enough to remember that soil still exists underneath all this white. Song before rain plants herbs near the lodge wall, little rows of green poking through mud. You watch her hands move with muscle memory. No ceremony, no speech, just purpose. She places a small seedling in your palm, points to the southern wall. You kneel beside her and press it into the earth. The act feels bigger than it is, like you're claiming something, like staying might become growing. Hope has found her voice. She doesn't speak yet, but she hums, especially when you carry her. She curls against your chest and lets out low, vowel-like sounds, like a bird still learning its own cry. One night, she hums in her sleep, and the fire cracks exactly in rhythm. Tall Elk glances up from the leather he's softening, says nothing, but you see it in his face. He hears her. That week you mend a coat. It's not yours. Too wide at the shoulders, frayed where the wind grabbed it. You found it in the pile near the lodge entrance. No one claimed it, so you clean it, stitch the seams, replace one of the buttons with a carved bone disc you made last week. Tall Elk wears it the next morning without comment, but leaves one of your carved spoons on your mat. Trade without words, belonging without permission. One evening, you speak to Song Before Rain directly. Not just thanks, not just gestures. You say, "I want to help." She looks at you, then at Hope, then back at the small garden. Finally, she nods once, hands you a pouch of dried petals, and motions for you to follow. You do. She teaches you how to burn them slow, how to wave the smoke, how to speak into it, not aloud, but with intention. You don't understand it fully, but you don't need to. You feel it settle somewhere below your ribs, like a truth without language, like forgiveness you haven't asked for, but are learning how to earn. That night you hold Hope against your chest and whisper a story. Not one from a book, one from memory. The first time you bled, the last time your mother sang. The moment the man who left you smiled too easily before walking away. You don't cry, you just say the words. Hope sleeps through it. But you feel your chest lighten with every sentence. When you look up, Tall Elk is standing in the doorway. He doesn't ask anything. He doesn't come closer, but he stays until the fire dies low, because some listening isn't about ears, it's about not leaving. The first warm wind comes 2 weeks later. It doesn't bring birds. It doesn't melt the last of the snow, but it carries something sharper than spring. A voice. You hear it before you see him, your name, spoken like a claim. You freeze. Hope jerks in your arms. Tall Elk is already standing, bow in hand, body still, eyes narrowed. The voice calls again. "Abigail Thornton." Not a question, a summons. You step out of the lodge, slowly. The man stands on the ridge, boots too clean, jacket too stiff. The same brother-in-law who shoved you from the wagon 6 weeks ago, Vernon. He raises a piece of paper, yells, "I got papers! Court stamped!" You don't move. He tries again. "I'm taking her, the baby too. Ain't right for her to be raised by—" He stops short of the word. Tall Elk steps forward. Vernon lifts his rifle, not aimed, not yet. But you see it, and you feel Hope press against your chest. You say calm, loud, "She's not yours." He points at you. "She's my brother's blood." You nod. "She's also mine. And I didn't die when you thought I would." That rattles him. He shifts, says, "We can do this proper. Bring you in. Let the court decide." You laugh, dry, sharp. "You think the court knows what she smells like when she wakes? You think they know how she hums in her sleep?" He falters, then spits. You'll regret this. You say, I already did, now I don't. He backs away, not fast, but far. Disappears over the ridge. You turn. Tall elk lowers the bow, no arrow strung. But the message was loud enough. That night, Song Before Rain places 3 stones in the fire. One cracks, one smokes, one turns black and stays whole. She removes it, hands it to you, says nothing. You keep it, because not all curses sound like threats. Some look like signatures, and some get burned before they ever reach the hearth. The next morning you rise before anyone else. Even the fire is quiet. You carry Hope to the edge of the clearing where Vernon stood, where the land remembers. You hold her up, not high, just enough for her eyes to meet the horizon. You whisper, they'll come again. She babbles, reaches for a sun not yet risen. You say, next time we'll already be ready. You spend the day gathering stones, not large, not sharp, just enough to line the edge of the lodge, to define without defending. Tall Elk joins you. He doesn't ask what you're doing, he adds to it, quietly. Later you see he's carved symbols into 4 of them, one for each direction. The 5th he places at the doorway, blank, waiting. You ask, what's that one for? He says, for the name she chooses. You look at Hope. She's crawling now, half speed, full purpose. You nod. Leave the stone untouched. It's not your decision. That feels right. The day is warmer than any before it. You sit in the sun with Song Before Rain. She grinds herbs. You stitch soft leather. You tell her about your mother. How she taught you to braid grass before she taught you to pray. How you were told obedience was the best way to survive. Song Before Rain doesn't interrupt, just keeps grinding. Then she says, my mother braided smoke. You don't understand, but you want to. She hands you a bundle, says, burn this when the wind is steady. You say, what will it do? She answers, depends who's watching. That evening, Tall Elk brings in a rabbit, fresh kill, clean arrow. He hands you the knife, not as test, as trust. You skin it slowly, carefully. When you finish, he places the hide beside the cradle board. Your stitchwork rests on the edge. He says, spring's almost here. You say, it feels like we've already begun. He nods, then says, you can leave when the snow's gone. You meet his eyes, say, or I can stay. Hope squeals from the corner, like she's chosen already. You begin building a second shelter, not far from the lodge, just downwind, near the pine ring. You don't ask permission. No one tells you no. Tall Elk helps carry beams. Song Before Rain marks the soil with ash. Hope watches from her basket, humming her new half-formed song. The frame rises slowly. You don't rush. You're not leaving. You're planting. That night you write for the first time since before the storm, a single page, folded, tucked into the space beneath Hope's blanket. You write, if they come again, show them this, not because they'll understand, but because I didn't die, and that matters. It's not poetry, it's not even full, but it's yours. That's enough. A few days later, a stranger arrives. Not Vernon, not a threat, a boy, 15 maybe, dust on his coat, eyes wide from too much walking. He speaks English with hesitance. You're the woman. From the papers. You say, I'm a woman. I don't know which papers. He hands you a folded document, an inquiry, signed by a circuit judge. Your name at the top, Hope's below. Vernon's complaint filed in ink. Unfit, dangerous company, unlawful refuge. Tall Elk reads it over your shoulder, silent, then tears it once, twice, burns the pieces in the same bowl. Song Before Rain used for the smoke herbs. You look at the boy. He says, they said you were a witch or dead. You smile, then say, which one scares you more? He doesn't answer, but he stays for stew. That tells you enough. You write another letter, this one to no one. Fold it, place it under the first. This one says, "She was born in snow, but raised by fire." Hope claps while you write, like punctuation, like agreement. You wonder if someday she'll write her own, or burn yours and start fresh. Both feel holy. The boy stays. He doesn't speak much. Sleeps by the outer wall, wakes early, always watching. You find out his name on the fourth morning. He's stirring coals. Hope is crawling circles around the hearth. You say, "You have a name?" He says, "People called me Thomas." You pause, then reply, "Do you still answer to it?" He shrugs. "Depends who's asking." You nod. That's enough. Tall Elk teaches him how to shape arrowheads. Thomas listens with both hands. Song Before Rain feeds him herbs for the cough he doesn't mention. You give him a blanket, not a new one, not one you made, the one you almost froze in. He takes it like someone recognizing old armor. Hope follows him everywhere. He lets her. Doesn't smile much, but he whistles sometimes, short bursts, low and fast. You hear her echo the tone a day later. It becomes a game. You wonder if that's how family happens, not by planning but by echo. One evening, Song Before Rain brings out a pouch. Inside, clay discs, flat, carved, symbols you don't recognize. She spreads them by the fire, points to each slowly. 1, rain. 2, girl. 3, fire. 4, circle. 5, bone. Then she nods toward you, waits. You realize she's offering you a name, not to choose, to feel. You press your finger to the fire disc. She nods once. Traces it with ash onto your palm. Doesn't speak it aloud, doesn't need to. You'll carry it now, and one day someone will whisper it back to you. You show the disc to Hope. She chews on it. You let her, because names aren't delicate. They're teeth-tested, fire-etched, and held without asking. The new shelter is finished. It's not large, just enough space for warmth, tools, and breath. Tall Elk ties a small bundle of feathers above the door. You recognize one of them from the pouch Vernon left behind. It's been repurposed, given a better story. You don't move into the shelter right away. You visit it, sit inside after dark, hold Hope in your lap and hum her sleep song. Test how the fire sounds inside its walls, how the wind pushes at the door without coming through. You think, this is what a home sounds like before anyone calls it that. Thomas begins marking trees around the camp, not randomly. He carves circles, slashes, and dots. He says it's how he kept track of time while walking. Now he uses it to track where people sleep, where they pause. You say, "You're making a map." He shrugs. "I don't want to forget where it was quiet." You press a hand to his shoulder. You won't. Hope is standing now, wobbling, gripping the edge of anything solid. She grabs your leg and laughs like it's a secret. You catch yourself saying, "Careful," then stop. Because she's not the one who's unsure anymore. You are. She's already part of this place. You're still practicing. That evening, Song Before Rain paints Hope's hands with berry dye, presses them onto a hide 4 times, once for the lodge, once for the garden, once for the new shelter, once for the fire pit. A map and fingerprints. She says, now she belongs everywhere. You ask, do I? She looks at you, doesn't answer. But in the morning you find your own handprint added beside hers, smeared, lopsided, but unmistakably yours. You don't cry. You just press your hand to the mark and whisper, still here. And the wind, for once, doesn't move at all. Word travels farther than footsteps. One morning you find fresh tracks near the old path. Boots, but not Vernon's, too small, too cautious. You follow them to the ridge. No one waits there, just a bundle. Inside, salt ink and 2 pages folded with care. The writing is clean, educated. We've heard the woman live still. We've heard the child walks. We'd like to know your intentions. You read it twice, then pass it to Tall Elk. He nods, says, they always want to know. You ask, should we answer? He shrugs, only if you think they'll listen. That night you write a reply, brief, sharp, careful. She was born of snow and silence. She walks in heat and grows in ash. We do not ask to be known. We only ask not to be erased. You fold it into a pouch. Thomas volunteers to leave it where the last bundle sat. You give him no deadline, no instruction. He already knows the map. Spring cracks the ice open. The river flows again. Song before rain begins soaking herbs. You help now, no longer clumsy, no longer observing. She lets you choose the bundles, teaches you what not to mix. Hope runs barefoot through mud. Her laughter doesn't echo, it roots. Tall Elk builds a new bench, wider for stories, for sitting shoulder to shoulder in good silence. You carve your name into its underside, just your first. You think, maybe that's enough. Days later, a woman arrives, alone, gray at the temples, wearing riding clothes too fine for these woods. She carries a ledger. She says, we're redrawing the land boundaries. She says, we heard you're building illegally. You don't answer right away. You hand her a bowl of stew. She eats it, slow. Then says, who taught her to walk like that? She's watching Hope. You reply, the ground. She nods once, writes something down. When she leaves, she doesn't say goodbye. But she leaves the bowl, cleaned, dried. Set on the bench you built with your name beneath it. That's all the permission you need. The last snow falls like an apology. Late spring, unannounced, soft enough not to cover the ground, just enough to remind you where the story began. Hope stands at the edge of the garden, palms up, catching flakes. You watch her. Wonder if she remembers any part of that night, the screaming, the cold, the man who said nothing but stayed. Probably not. But the body remembers what words forget, and so does the land. You finished the bench today, the real one, the long one, built from wood dragged down from the north ridge. Thomas helps sand it. Tall Elk lashes the joints. Song before rain hums the same note she hummed when Hope first laughed. You set the last nail with a stone, not a hammer. Because this place was always more hand than metal, more breath than blueprint, more earned than granted. At dusk, you gather everyone, just the four of you, plus Hope, plus the boy from the path who never gave his name, plus the girl who arrived yesterday carrying a torn journal and nothing else. You sit together, no speeches. You place the bone whistle on the bench. Next to it, Hope sets a pebble. No one moves it, no one questions it. You look up, say only, we're still here. They nod, all of them, even the girl, especially the girl. She hasn't said words since arriving, but she doesn't need to, she's breathing. That's the first line of every story. Later that night, you wrap Hope in her oldest blanket, the one with ash stains and loose threads. You sit in the doorway of the lodge. The fire still hums behind you. You write a final line in your journal. We weren't claimed, we were chosen, by fire, by silence, by the ones who stayed. You don't sign it, you leave the page open, because someone else will pick up the pen, sooner than you think. You close your eyes. And for the first time in your life, you sleep without dreaming of snow,